Mother's Day used to mean warm kitchen smells, messy cards, and Daniel, my only son, running around with flour on his cheeks. Now it meant silence. So when I heard a knock that afternoon, I wiped my hands on my faded apron, expecting a neighbor. Instead, my son stood there. Daniel, 38, rich, polished, and looking like a man who'd forgotten what tiredness felt like. He held a bouquet so bright it almost hurt the eyes, and he stepped inside with a smile that felt rehearsed. "Mom," he said gently, "my wife's still sending you the monthly funds, right? The 5,000. Those words hit me harder than any storm. For a moment, my ears rang. 5,000. I'd been stretching canned soup, relying on church packages, and pretending the rising bills didn't scare me. I tried to swallow, but it felt like my throat fought back. "Sweetheart, the church has been helping me get by." His smile vanished, clean off his face. And then she entered. Elena, my daughter-in-law, glided into the room as if she owned the air around her. Silk dress, metallic heels, a scent that was too expensive to belong in my old living room. She smiled, but her eyes held the warmth of a winter window pane. "Oh, Margaret," she said sweetly, "I drop off the money every month. Maybe you misplaced it." A lie delivered so gracefully it would fool a stranger. But I wasn't a stranger. I had lived too long, seen too much, and survived enough storms to recognize hollow kindness. Daniel looked between us, confused, as if he'd walked into a script he didn't remember auditioning for. "Elena," he pressed, "I've been transferring it. You're sure you've been bringing it?" She tilted her head, lashes fluttering. "Of course. Sometimes she forgets, darling. Age does that. Age." The word sliced something inside me, sharp and cold. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I simply nodded, as if agreeing with a breeze. Some truths don't need to be shouted, they need to be collected. So I sat through their visit, smiling lightly, while inside me something old and steady was waking up. A quiet resolve, an inner warning bell. When they left, I stood alone in the dim room, looking at my hands, hands that once carried my son, that held my husband's fading strength, that built a life from nothing. If Elena thought she could pull one over on an old woman, she had miscalculated the wrong widow. Because I may have been aging, but I wasn't blind. If you were in my place, hearing your child's spouse lie straight to your face, would you stay silent the way I did? Or would you confront them right there? For hours after they left, I sat at the table staring at the empty chair where Elena had perched like a queen. The sunlight creeping through the curtains made the dust shimmer, but it didn't warm me. My heart felt colder than the metal of the old wall clock ticking above me. $5,000 a month. 8 months. $40,000 that never touched my hands. The next morning, I forced myself out of bed, dressed in my usual soft cardigan, and walked to the bank, First Lone Star Community, a small place where tellers still recognized faces more than account numbers. Molly, the young teller who always wore bright nail polish, greeted me warmly. "Morning, Mrs. Hayes. What can I help you with?" I slid my passbook over. "I need you to check if any transfers have come in. Specifically, from my son, Daniel Hayes." Her fingers tapped fast against the keyboard. She frowned, tapped again, then looked up at me with eyes too soft for what she was about to say. "There's nothing, ma'am. No transfers at all. Not in the last 8 months. A quiet ache settled in my chest, an ache too deep to be simple disappointment. I thanked her and walked out. The Texas heat hit me like a wall, but all I felt was cold inside. I walked home slowly, thinking, turning over memories like stones. Maybe I had misunderstood. Maybe Daniel had typed a wrong number. Maybe the bank had an error. I wasn't naive, but I knew how the mind tries to protect the heart. Back home, I pulled out the ledger I once used as treasurer of St. Luke's Women's Circle. A habit I never let go of. Every bill, every expenditure, every scrap of income. Precise, Clean. Nothing, no record, no envelope, no deposit, showed even $1 from Daniel. That was when denial dissolved, not with a dramatic scream, but with a tired exhale. Later that evening, I walked to St. Luke's for service. Reverend Collins noticed my quietness immediately. He was a kind man with a gentle voice, the type who seemed to carry everyone's burdens in the lines around his eyes. "Margaret," he said after the service, "your spirit seems heavy." I managed a small smile. "I just learned my son's generosity never reached me." His eyes softened with a sadness that didn't need explanation. Truth has a way of rising, even through the deepest soil. Maybe he was right, and maybe I had to be the one to dig it up. If you discovered someone had taken what was meant for you, money, trust, respect, would you keep digging for answers? Or let it go to avoid conflict? The day after my talk with Reverend Collins, I sat on the porch trimming my lavender bushes when I heard the hum of a familiar engine approaching. Smooth, expensive, intentional. A white luxury sedan rolled into my driveway, Elena's latest toy. I recognized the way it glimmered in the sunlight, the kind of shine that only comes with a payment plan someone else unknowingly funds. She stepped out dressed like she was visiting a magazine shoot, not a widow's porch. A cream dress, designer sunglasses, the soft click of polished heels on my wooden steps. She carried a basket wrapped with a gold ribbon, her smile wide but empty. "Mother," she sang, "I brought you a little something. I thought you deserved a treat." I glanced at the basket, imported cookies, artisanal jam, and a bottle of wine that probably cost more than my monthly groceries. Lovely items, but not a single envelope among them. "How thoughtful," I said, not bothering to hide the exhaustion in my voice. She sat down beside me, crossing her legs gracefully. "Oh, your garden is still so charming. I don't know how you manage all this alone." "With patience," I replied, snipping a stem of lavender, "and a good memory." Her smile twitched, just for a second. I looked straight at her. "Elena, where's the money for this month? The 5,000 Daniel said you brought over?" Her fingers froze midway through adjusting her sunglasses. Then, with a forced laugh, she said, "Oh, silly me. I left it in the car." "Did you?" I replied calmly. "Why don't you grab it then?" Her cheek twitched again, this time more visibly. "Oh, well, I'm in a rush today. I'll drop it off next time." Next time. That phrase was becoming her favorite lie. I didn't argue. I didn't scold. I just looked at her car, new, gleaming, with temporary plates. "Beautiful car," I said. "Brand new?" She swallowed. "Yes, well, I upgraded for my business image. You know how it is. A business image she built on someone else's money." I didn't blink. "And the envelope keeps getting lost in that nice new car of yours? What a pity." Her eyes darted away. "The bank probably delayed something," she murmured. "These things happen." "I checked with the bank," I said quietly. Silence fell between us sharper than any knife. She stood abruptly. "I should go. Busy day." By the time she reached her car, her perfume lingered like a fading lie. That was the moment I knew, without doubt, that I wasn't dealing with forgetfulness or error. I was dealing with a thief wearing designer heels. If someone lied to your face this boldly, would you confront them harder, or stay silent while collecting proof like I did? That evening, after Elena sped away in her spotless white sedan, I walked back into my quiet house. The floorboards creaked underneath my feet, as if even the wood sensed the shift in the air. I went straight to the drawer where I kept my old brown notebook, the one that held shopping lists, church reminders, and prayers long since answered. I opened to a fresh page. September 10th, Elena visited. Gift basket. No envelope. New car. Nervous eyes. Lied. I wrote slowly, neatly. Every detail mattered. Numbers never lie, and liars always leave fingerprints in their stories. The next morning, I took a different path than usual. Instead of heading toward the grocery store, I walked to the post office at the corner. The public phone booth still functioned, and I didn't want to call from home. Something in my gut told me to stay cautious. When deception enters your life, paranoia becomes a survival skill. I dialed Daniel's company. Hayes Technologies, accounting department, a woman answered. "This is Margaret Hayes," I said. "Daniel Hayes' mother. I need to confirm something about transfers he believes he sent me." After a brief hold, another voice, older, steadier, came on the line. "This is Sandra, head accountant. How can I help, ma'am? My son says he sends me $5,000 each month. For 8 months. I have not received anything. Could you check where it's going, not in detail, just whether it's being sent?" Silence. Then typing. Then a slow exhale. Maras. "Hayes, the transfers are happening. Same day each month. Same amount, but the receiving account, the name matches yours, yet the account number does not." The world tilted under me. "Are you saying someone created another account under my name?" "I can't give legal confirmation," she whispered. "But, yes, that is what it looks like." I closed my eyes. My hand trembled around the receiver. "Thank you," I managed. I walked home in a fog of disbelief and fury, not loud, explosive fury, but a cold, still kind that settles deep in your bones. Betrayal hurts more when it comes from people who smile while taking from you. When I got back inside, I sat at the table for a long moment before pulling out my notebook again. September 11th, fake account. Money redirected. Not a mistake, not confusion. A setup. I stared at the words until they no longer felt like ink. They felt like truth, carved into stone. Elena hadn't just lied. She had engineered a system to steal. From me. From her husband. From our family. This wasn't forgetfulness. It was calculation. If you discovered someone forged an account under your name, would you confront them immediately? Or gather even more evidence before making your move? 2 days after my call with the accounting office, I heard a knock at my door, not timid, not polite, firm, purposeful. The kind of knock made by someone who doesn't come to borrow sugar. I opened the door to a tall man in a charcoal suit, a leather briefcase in hand. His hair was graying at the temples, his expression steady but troubled. "Maras. Margaret Hayes?" "Yes. I'm Bennett, chief accountant at Hayes Technologies. May I come in? There are things you should see." His tone carried a weight I couldn't ignore. Inside, he placed his briefcase on the dining table, the same table where Elena had once sat pretending she cared. Bennett unclipped the briefcase and slid out a thick folder, neatly organized. "Your call yesterday raised concerns," he said quietly. "I reviewed your son's financial logs myself." He opened the folder. My breath stopped. 8 transfers, he said, tapping the papers, each for $5,000 every month. Total, $40,000. Every single one was deposited into an account under the name Margaret Hayes, but the real owner. He paused. I already knew. "Elena?" I whispered. He nodded. "Your daughter-in-law set it up using forged documents. The signature on file, it's your name, but it's not your handwriting." Bennett slid forward a page with the forged signature. My stomach tightened. "And there's more," he continued. "She also used the company's secondary credit card, meant for business, with your son's approval signature scanned onto it. Spa trips, jewelry, weekend getaways, a down payment on her new car." He flipped through receipt after receipt. $1,300 spa, $3,800 boutique jewelry, $15,000 luxury car deposit, first-class flights, thousands more, all spent under the guise of business or family support. A nauseating cold spread through me. "I'm sorry," Bennett said softly. "Your son, he's not aware." He believes he's providing for you. He trusts her completely. I closed my eyes, not to cry but to steady myself. Why are you helping me? I asked. He sighed deeply. Because fraud is fraud, Mrs. Hayes. And because no elderly parent deserves to be exploited by someone sleeping under their roof. There was something else in his voice, anger, tightly controlled. Professionals don't show emotion, but decent men do. If you want to pursue justice, he said, I'll help you gather every document. But you must be careful. She's intelligent, manipulative, and very good at pretending. I opened my notebook, the same one Elena tried to dismiss with her sweet lies, and wrote, September 13th, Bennett confirmed everything. 40,000 stolen. Company funds abused. Game changes now. I looked up, meeting Bennett's steady gaze. I'm done being quiet. If someone stole $40,000 from you while pretending to care, would you expose them? Or wait for the perfect moment to strike back? 3 days later, after reviewing every receipt and forged document Bennett had uncovered, I made a decision. Not out of anger, but out of strategy. I called my son. Daniel, I said gently, why don't you and Elena come over for dinner this Sunday? It's been too long since we shared a meal. He sounded relieved, almost grateful. Mom, I'd love that. Clara, he corrected himself. Elena will be thrilled. Of course she would. She believed she had tightened the leash around my silence. Sunday came. I prepared Daniel's childhood favorites, roast chicken, mashed potatoes, warm bread, and apple pie. I set the old silverware my husband and I once used for special evenings. Everything looked warm, harmless, familiar. But the battlefield was in the details. In the center of the table lay a beige envelope, disguised among folded napkins and candles. Its contents? A condensed summary of everything Bennett had uncovered, every stolen dollar, every forged signature, every false visit Elena claimed she made. Not to confront her with, but to let her trap herself. When the clock hit 6, their car rolled up the drive. Daniel stepped out holding white lilies. Elena followed, dressed like she was attending a gala, soft jade silk, shimmering earrings, hair perfectly styled. Mother, she said, kissing the air near my cheek, you look lovely. I returned the gesture with a calm smile that offered nothing. We sat, ate, chatted. Daniel relaxed quickly, enjoying memories, savoring comfort. Elena smiled often, but her eyes moved around the room like a cat checking for exits. Halfway through dinner, I set down my fork and said lightly, I just wanted to thank you both for the $5,000 you sent this month. Elena didn't even hesitate. Oh, of course, Mother. I delivered it on the 10th. Same as always. Daniel paused, confused. Wait, the 10th? Honey, I set the transfers for the 15th. Silence. A silence so sharp you could slice the air with it. Elena froze, blinked, faked a laugh. Oh, right. I must have mixed up the dates. Daniel frowned deeper. You said you always delivered them on the 10th. Another strained laugh. Yes, but you know how busy I am. Maybe I cut in softly. I'll just check with the bank on the 15th to make sure everything is running smoothly. Her eyes snapped toward me. That was the first moment she realized the ground beneath her heels had begun to crumble. We continued dinner, but she barely ate. She kept glancing at the beige envelope, unaware that inside lay the truth she'd been running from. When they left, she hurried to their car. Daniel lingered, worry flickering in his eyes, worry he didn't yet understand. That's when I knew. The seeds of doubt had finally taken root. If someone contradicted their own lie in front of you, would you expose them right away? Or would you wait for them to slip even further? The plan moved faster than I expected. 2 days after the dinner trap, I received an email from Bennett. All records prepared. Bank ready to confirm. Amelia drafting the legal documents. Amelia, my old college friend turned financial fraud attorney, had stepped in quietly but decisively. She handled deception the way surgeons handle tumors. She cut it out clean. By the morning of the 15th, every piece of evidence was lined up. Every forged signature, every stolen dollar, every receipt for Elena's lavish lifestyle. That same afternoon, the mail carrier brought a thick manila envelope marked confidential. Inside were the hard copies. 8 transfers of $5,000, total $40,000. Luxury spending totaling nearly $48,000. Receipts for spa trips, jewelry, flights, and the down payment on her new car. A side-by-side comparison of my real signature and the forged one. Hers, shaky but practiced. Looking at the papers laid out across my kitchen table, I felt a strange mixture of anger and relief. The truth was ugly, but it was complete. That night, I drove to St. Luke's. Reverend Collins sat in his office reviewing donation reports. When I laid the envelope in front of him, his eyebrows lifted. "Is this what I think it is?" he asked quietly. "Yes," I said. "But I need your help with something else." He waited. "I want you to host a small charity meeting. Nothing grand, just enough reason for Daniel and Elena to attend. And I want this envelope, somewhere they can't ignore." He leaned back, thoughtful. "Some truths," he said, "must be revealed in front of witnesses." I nodded. "Exactly." For the next 2 days, I prepared, not food this time, but resolve. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to ruin anything unnecessarily. I simply wanted Daniel to see the truth with his own eyes, not hear it from somebody else. The evening of the gathering arrived. The church hall was modest, soft lights, neatly arranged chairs, a long table covered in white cloth. At the center sat an envelope labeled Senior Assistant's Fund Proposal, but inside it lay the evidence of betrayal. Daniel and Elena arrived right on time. He looked tired, hopeful maybe. She looked perfect, too perfect, hair styled, lips glossy, smile set like porcelain. "Mother," she said sweetly, "what is all this?" "A night about giving," I replied. "And honesty." Something flickered in her eyes. A tiny spark of fear. Good. She should feel the ground moving. As the meeting began, I gestured toward the central envelope. "Daniel," I said gently, "I think you should open that." He reached for it. Elena stiffened. And in that heartbeat of stillness, I knew. This was the moment her entire web of lies would finally tear apart. If you were about to expose someone's betrayal in front of them, would you let them open the truth? Or would you reveal it yourself? Daniel opened the envelope with the calm innocence of a man expecting donation plans, not detonations. He unfolded the first page. His eyes scanned the text, then froze. Recipient, Margaret Hayes. Amount, $5,000. Deposits, 8. Total, $40,000. Recipient account ending in 4319. Not matching known account. Elena's breath caught like someone had slammed a door on her chest. Daniel blinked hard. What is this?" Before she could speak, I stepped forward and slid the next sheet toward him. A luxury spa bill, jewelry invoices, flight tickets, the Lexus deposit, all tied to a secondary company credit card under Elena's control. Daniel read each line, color draining from his face. Finally, he whispered, "Elena, what is this?" She tried. Oh, she tried. Her hand trembled as she forced a watery smile. Daniel, sweetheart, I can explain. I was handling things for your mother. She forgot. She's confused. No. My voice was quiet but sharp enough to cut glass. I placed my brown notebook on the table. The ledger of truth. "Your wife claims to deliver money each month," I said softly. "But here is the record of every visit she made. Every date. Every lie. Not one envelope. Not $1. Elena swallowed, her facade cracking. She's old. She doesn't remember." Before she finished, a firm voice echoed from the doorway. Actually, Mrs. Hayes remembers everything. Bennett stepped inside holding the full documentation. He turned to Daniel. For months, your mother quietly collected details that matched the account activity I traced. This wasn't forgetfulness. It was fraud. Elena's voice rose, trembling. Daniel, please, this is a misunderstanding. Daniel's voice broke like something inside him had snapped. He slammed the papers onto the table. You lied. You lied to me. You forged my mother's name. You stole from her and from me. Elena's eyes flooded, but there was no remorse in them, only panic. Daniel, I did it for us. I needed the money to keep up appearances, for business, for your vanity, he shot back. While my mother lived on donated food. Her mask shattered completely. She reached for him, not with love, but desperation. You can't do this. You can't choose her over me. He stepped back. I'm choosing the truth. Her face twisted, rage, fear, and disbelief choking her all at once. I won't be humiliated like this, she screamed. Then, with a shaking fist, she grabbed her handbag and stormed out of the hall, her heels echoing like nails driven into the floor. No one went after her. Not even Daniel. He just stood there, shoulders trembling, staring at the evidence of 8 months of betrayal. He whispered, voice hollow, Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I placed a hand on his cheek, my own heart aching. The mistake wasn't loving her, I said. It was trusting someone who didn't deserve it. If the person you trusted most shattered that trust publicly, would you forgive them eventually, or would that door close forever? After Elena's heels stopped echoing down the church hall corridor, silence wrapped around the room, heavy, aching, and necessary. Daniel stood motionless, the papers still trembling in his hands. The betrayal wasn't just financial. It was the collapse of a life he thought he understood. Mom, he whispered again, as if the word itself hurt. I stepped closer, steady as stone. Sit, Daniel. He lowered himself into a chair like a man twice his age. Bennett gathered the documents into a neat stack, placing them in front of him. These are yours now, Bennett said quietly. They belong with the person who was wronged. Daniel nodded, but his eyes were far away, somewhere between disbelief and heartbreak. Reverend Collins approached softly. The truth is painful, son, but pain is the start of healing, not the end. Daniel rubbed his face. I can't believe she'd do this. I thought she cared about family. I thought she cared about. He stopped before the sentence collapsed. She cared about image, I said gently, not people. He looked at me then, really looked, as if seeing something he had missed for far too long. You should have told me sooner. I held his gaze. I needed proof, not accusations. This was the only way to make the truth unbreakable. He swallowed hard. What happens now? That, I said, is up to you. I'm not here to ruin your marriage. I'm here to defend the dignity I earned through a lifetime of hard work. The rest is your decision. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he stood, walked to the window, and stared into the dimly lit parking lot where Elena had vanished. I'm filing for separation, he said at last, and pressing charges for the fraud. She won't talk her way out of this. I nodded once. I didn't celebrate. Betrayal leaves scars on everyone, even the innocent. After the meeting ended, Daniel insisted on driving me home. The night air was cool, and the hum of the car engine felt strangely comforting. In the driveway, he turned to me. From now on, he said, I'm handling everything directly. No middleman. No secrets. And Mom, I'll make up the money she stole. Every dollar. I touched his arm. I don't care about the money. I care about not losing my son. His face tightened with emotion. You're not losing me. If anything, I think I'm finally coming back. When he left, I walked inside my quiet home. Peace didn't come instantly, but a certain weight lifted, like a storm had passed, leaving the air clean. I sat at my table, closed my notebook, and wrote the final line. Truth won. And I did not bow. If you want an epilogue showing what happened to Elena afterward, or a sequel where Daniel rebuilds his life, just tell me.